such a positive change for us, and it just allows you to create, systems, like better systems in place. It's so hard to create systems for new people that come on the crew if you've got like a shoddy work situation and you're forcing people to kind of make do in a small space, which you can definitely do, but it's been really nice to be able to try to create systems so that when people come onto the farm as a new member of the crew, they can be introduced to these systems, and that's just the way it is, as opposed to the way we have been doing it. But it's been more pleasant to train them and have it be pretty clear what it's supposed to look like. Okay, it's like when you walk into the space, this is what it looks like, and when you leave, this is what it needs to look like. That's a lot easier to do when they're not having to move things around and constantly ask where things go and that sort of thing. So yes, it's been a lot easier and just a lot more pleasant to, be able to offer people a comfortable place to have a bathroom, sit down, heat their lunch up, have hot water to wash their hands. It's small things, but it's a big help for somebody working in a 40-degree windy day when it's rainy outside to come in and know that they've got like a warm place to be for an hour or half an hour or whatever. So I do see potential for sure, and just see different avenues for being able to keep one employee or more kind of longer into the winter season and stretching out hours that way to offer, it's just hard to keep quality people year round. And so it's just been, I think I can see the opportunities that are coming our way as far as having more workshops in the space and doing more crafty things for later in the season and having those to sell value added. And so I definitely can see that, and just being able to have more storage capacity. So just, for our winter CSA this year, knowing that we can up the number of families that we can approve or support because we have the place to store the crops, and I'm not going to be tripping over it in my garage. We can keep stuff here and just bring it over as we need it for pickups that day. So just that capacity in itself, knowing that we can plan for that next year, which would be great. It helps offset our costs for sure, and just has it's great to have another positive female-owned business right on the farm, which has been so great, and it's complementary because she's focused on eating local and feeding other people healthy local food, and it allows us to have a place to put a lot of our seconds and that sort of thing. So yeah, that's been a really strong win-win, and that, I would say, as far as hurdles go, that has been our biggest hurdle permit-wise, and the legality of doing that piece has been our biggest challenge with this whole process. The process takes quite a long time. I've learned that different agencies in our state are very backed up as far as applications for those things go. So so there's all sorts of different designations you need, and it really depends on the other use for the space. So for our particular person that we're sharing the space with, she has a specific type of catering license. So it really depends on what sort of food venture you're trying to do. And so that dictates a lot of like the mandatory water flows that you're going to have. And so that leads to the wastewater permitting. And then, so there's all sorts of boxes that needs to be checked, and different people and agencies that need to come and approve. So we've gone through many of the hoops, but we're still fighting for that last hoop. So we'll see, but it's a long process. We called around to a few other places that we knew that weren't farms, but that were folks that were using their space and renting it out to other food processors, and asked them what what the best ways to start the process had been. And so they gave us a few names as far as different agencies for the Department of Ag and the Department of Health, and then there's a whole other agency for wastewater permitting and that sort of thing. So there was 3 solid agencies that you needed to contact, and then fire safety has to come. And so we've had many inspectors come out to the space many different times, and it doesn't seem like the most straightforward process or efficient, but at some point I'm hoping that we'll have our final yes and we'll be good to go. And I thought it was really helpful that you had all those links just ready to go. So if I asked, what's the best, siding that I could use interior for food safety stuff, you had like an email that you could forward to me with 4 links. And what are people doing for floor pitches? And then there was an email that you could send. So it was just really easy for me to get educated super quickly and be able to talk with my contractor and be like, this is what I need. These are the things that are suggested, like which one are we going with, and that sort of thing, as opposed to just leaving it all in their hands, which I knew would be a problem. So it was really great for me not to have to do all the back leg work. And I could also price those materials out so that I knew what is a reasonable cost per square foot. And then if something was way off, I'd be like, well, when I go to price this, So it just made me feel like I was not going blindly into this process and just kind of trusting the contractor because I wasn't going to be doing a lot of the labor myself. We have funding through the Vermont Farm Fund. So we have a loan from them, which has been great. And I think it's a 4-year term. And then we have financing through the Farm Service Agency for another chunk of change for this process. So both of those places were very easy to work with and really open to what we were trying to do, and much less bureaucratic than maybe you might think. And if I was trying to go through a regular bank, the bureaucracy would have been mountains more. So it's been great. And we've had farm financing through the Farm Service Agency also. So because of that, they already had all of our stuff, and they had the last 10 years of our finances, and it just became they really worked with us to make it work, even though it was kind of like out of the box of what they usually lend for. So we got the Produce Safety Improvement Grant, and then we got the Local Food Market Development Grant. So both of them were for $5,000 each, so $10,000 together, and they really made it possible to do a lot of the interior stuff and get fixtures sooner than I probably would have been able to afford on my own. So it made it possible for us to get 2 coolers straight off the bat, and the sinks up and going, and the packing tables. So yes, yay grants.